All right, so this is kind of just gonna break down. No, this is gonna break down the difference between neurodivergence and so-called neurotypicals. Okay, so there's a terminology known as atypical, typical, regular, irregular, normal, and abnormal. Now, there's nothing abnormal about being neurodivergent. All neurotypes are unique in its own way, but what's referred to as neurotypical is what's mostly common, not necessarily what is normal, regular, and typical. So that means that being neurotypical is just propagated or a program, basically um, a lie, that is perpetuated for others to believe in so that those who are actually normal, actually regular, and those who are actually typical don't believe that that's what they actually are. So they assume that they're the opposite of that which is, true about themselves, etc. Anyways, so neurotypicals would actually be narcissistic, psychotic, psychopathic, Machiavellians or Machiavelli, uh, histrionics, and as well as paranoids, and sociopathic as well. Yeah. So that is more common within the neurotypical diaspora, which once again is just a neurodivergency that is mostly common within, you know, a close proximity of what, you know, the government would have you believe are real people, but they're not. So the episode is basically supposed to introduce that neurodivergents are the only ones with souls, spirits, minds, and shadows, as well as vessels. So the shadow is representing the ego, yeah. So if you are neurodivergent, which is anything that it just isn't in cluster B, psychologically, or in the DMV, or DMV, DSM-5 and shit, then you would know that it seems as if somebody who who would technically be considered neuro, quote unquote, typical, doesn't really relate, doesn't really understand, doesn't really connect unless it's in an unhealthy way, and doesn't really accept or acknowledge. Um, so they don't really recognize, acknowledge, and they don't relate with you or with others in consistency, just in general. Um, yeah, consistently. They don't at all. They're not willing to, they don't feel like it, they don't like it, they don't agree with it, they don't believe in it. And if you ask them why, they'll just pretend like you didn't see it, you didn't hear it, you don't feel it, you don't really believe that, you don't really think that, just to abuse you into believing that, or show you that it's worth it's easier for you to abuse yourself than to accept yourself in that type of situation where, or circumstance where you realize that others are not built like you. So neurotypicals, the reason why they do that is because they don't have souls and spirits and minds and vessels of their own. Their vessels aren't their own. They literally only have a shadow, an ego, basically. And they do not have a mind, and they do not have a spirit. If they do have a mind, it's not only them within that mind. If they do have a spirit, they are not the ones maneuvering or animating their vessels. So that's the reason why they're so hostile. They're so disagreeable, and The reason why they're always passive aggressive, which once again is just them being hostile, versus just being aggressive, which is a frontal assault, an assault, period. Which there's nothing wrong with assaulting anyone, actually. Honestly, hostility is what is the root of senseless violence, not violence in of itself. So hostility that is unchecked is the root of senseless violence, and never violence in of itself. Violence is used to protect yourself as well as to shield yourself and guard yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't believe in doing that shit for yourself, well, you're probably not neurodivergent. Anyways, so this is why they are constantly defensive, and why they're always projecting, which is basically assuming that you are just like them, and which is why they're always abusive, regardless of whether anyone did anything to them or not, because they're like this from incarnation, straight out the womb. And that literally, no one abused them into behaving like that, because if abuse had anything to do with it, hate, disregard, neglect, anything, traumatized, trauma, anything like that, then everyone would be like that. Because who did it, who wasn't abused? There's so many abusive motherfuckers. You think that no one like there's one in, just one being, or actually one soul, one mind, one vessel, one spirit within this, or in this planet, that hasn't been abused, traumatized, anything like that? Are you serious? No, are you being honest with yourself? So why did they end up like that? The truth is, they didn't end up like that. They've always been like that. They didn't incarnate with the soul. That's why they were always on devil do discipline since they've been out the womb. Like, they've been on the fuck. There's no such thing as demon time, but like, they've been doing devilish shit since they came out the womb, straight like that. No one told them they had to be an asshole. No one told them they had to be like this or that. They just did it. And if you have ever witnessed this, then you know exactly what it seems like is what it actually is. They don't seem like they have empathy. They don't seem like they have a soul. They don't seem like they have innocence. They don't seem like they're even there. Like they have a mind of their own, or that they care. Or no, it doesn't even seem like they have feelings. So that right there is a strong indication of someone who is soulless, mindless, and does not have a spirit of their own to animate throughout their entire, what appears to be their existence. It's why when you ask them for clarification, they say you're asking them questions, and that you're questioning them, when questioning is to doubt or deny. Why would you deny something that you don't even have any authority over? That doesn't make any sense. So their paranoia, they'll project that, for example, and say, it's none of your business, or, why are you asking so many questions? Who do you think you are? It's like, why don't you just listen? You're always asking so many questions. Shit like that. Like, are you okay? You're just, it's not that serious. It's not that deep. Stop. Just stop it. All right, bro. See, like, that right there is just a signification, or a signal that is not